Welcome to Come Get Woo Woo. We're your hosts, Becky and Roe, here to hold space for the unseen, the unspoken, and the deeply felt. This is a place for seekers, for those who sense that there's more, for those who hear between the words, feel beyond the room, and know without knowing why.
Together, we'll explore the language of spirit, the clarity of your clairs, and the signs that rise up when you're ready to notice. You're not imagining it, you're remembering it. This is Come Get Woo Woo.
We're taught to trust logic, facts, proof, but rarely taught to trust the subtle messages we feel in our body or just know in our gut. And yet, those are often the moments that change everything. Some guidance doesn't come from outside of us. It doesn't arrive as a sign, a voice, or a dramatic moment. It shows up as insight, timing, and awareness. A quiet sense that you've been supported as you've moved through life. If you have ever looked back on your life and thought, something was definitely looking out for me there, then this episode's for you. Hey, woo-woo seekers. Welcome back to Come Get Woo-Woo with Becky and Roe. I'm Becky.
And I'm Roe. Today we're stepping into the world of spirit guides, what they are, how they differ from other forms of spiritual support, and how they show up in everyday life in ways that are often subtle, personal, and surprisingly practical. We'll explore the different types of spirit guides, from lifelong companions to temporary teachers who step in during specific chapters of your life. We'll talk about how not all guidance feels the same, why some guides feel more like energy than personalities, and why comparisons can actually block connections. We'll also get into how spirit guides communicates, and this is where your clairs come in. Whether it's a sudden knowing, a physical sensation, an emotional wave, or a quiet inner voice, will help you understand how guidance moves through you, not around you. You're not meant to receive messages in the same way as anyone else, and that's intentional. We'll clear up common misconceptions too. Spirit guides don't override free will. They don't make decisions for you, and they're not here to run your life. Instead, they work with your awareness, helping you see options, patterns, and possibilities you might otherwise miss. And before we dive in, remember this: spirit guides aren't about giving your power away. They're about helping you remember that you already have it. So, Becky, what is a spirit guide?
A spirit guide is not a specific type of being. It's a functional role within your spiritual support staff. Just as health professionals cover everything from surgeons to nutritionists, the phrase spirit guide covers a vast range of energies that serve different purposes in your life. While we're focusing on the fundamental types today, we went into a deep dive into animal guides in our previous episode. In case you missed it, we'll be covering angelic guides, specifically angels and guardian angels rather than archangels, right after this episode. So for now, let's look at the different types of spirit guides. So the first one we have is primary or lifetime guides. So this is going to be a core team. These are the ride or die human spirit guides who know your specific soul blueprint from birth to death to provide consistent support. So then we have like a temporary or situational guides. It's like seasonal help. These are specialized spirits that step in for specific chapters, like a career shift or a period of grief, offering practical, grounded advice based on their own lived earthly experience. So the next one we have is ancestral guides. So this is going to be a structural support. These bloodlines or cultural ancestors stand behind you to focus on survival, tradition, and healing inherited family patterns. Then you have the mentor or teaching guides, and these are going to be your wisdom specialists. So we've talked about our teacher, Nancy, and Nancy actually has a guide that she uses quite frequently for helping teach, and her name is Rebecca. So that's what I think of when I think of this category. These are specialized spirits and ascended masters that appear when you are mastering a craft or philosophy. Approach them as a student, not a devotee. So then you have healing and protection guides. So these are kind of the mechanics. So this team consists of specialized human spirits or angels who manage your physical recovery and energetic boundaries. So it's quite interesting how many different categories they can fall into.
Absolutely.
So then we actually have a nature or elemental guides, and these are going to be your regulators. So they're sourced from land and animals. These guides lack human personality and work strictly in the ground, your energy, and regulate your nervous system. I absolutely think that I need one of these all the time. So we have a few more. So the next one is going to be your higher self. So this is your internal steering. We've talked about your higher self before. This is your own widest consciousness that sees the whole map and provides neutral, drama-free alignment. I think that's very important. It's the neutral part that it's...
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
So then you have the soul memory or past life guidance. So this is an internal consultant, if you will. This is you with more experience providing access to skills and competence you've mastered in other lifetimes without needing backstory. So if you ever felt like they're natural at this, well, it's usually because you've done it in a past life. You have the soul line and legacy guides. So these are spirits you share pre-birth history with, recognized by an immediate, unearned trust and a familiar angelic frequency. Last but not least is your karmic guides. So these are the pattern breakers. These guides act as a personal trainer, if you will, who hold up a mirror to your reoccurring loops until you finally choose to break the pattern. I've had a few of those. I don't know about you, but I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go into more depth and tell you kind of how to recognize some of these spirits. Ro, do you want to take on what the human spirit guides are?
Of course. Human spirit guides, these are deceased humans who guide you from experience. Loved ones, friends, or even someone you never met but share a thread with. Like a mentor in your field who has passed. They tend to feel familiar, practical, and emotionally recognizable. So how to begin working with your spirit guides? Well, this is about consistency over intensity. You are building a relationship, not placing an order. So the first thing you're going to do is set a clear intention. Be specific about what you're open to. Like you could say, I am open to guidance regarding my career or relationship from guides aligned with my highest good. And ask clear but open questions. Avoid yes or no questions. Instead, ask, what is the most helpful perspective for me right now? Or what am I trying to ignore in this situation? Create a quiet space your way. You don't need a formal altar. Space can be created through walking. Like moving your body often clears the noise so guidance can land. Journaling, like writing your questions, often allows the answer to flow through your pen before your mind can doubt it. And meditation, simply sitting in the silence to notice shifts in your internal weather. Remember, Invite them in while you're driving, cooking, or folding laundry. If you're stuck in a problem mentally, open the door for a guide's perspective. Notice if a sudden thought, a memory of someone's advice, or a feeling of calm resolve pops in while you're doing these chores. And remember, always invite with the highest good. This is your primary boundary. It ensures that the channel stays clear of ego and heavy energy. And always say thank you. Gratitude strengthens the connection. It's the equivalent of saying, I heard you, and signals that you're ready for more. And this part matters. If you're ever working with a human spirit guide, and if it ever feels heavy, intrusive, or emotionally destabilizing, pause, ground, take space. Healthy guidance feels supportive, not consuming. And these guides don't want to run your life. They want you to live it better than they could. So, Becky, do you want to go over ancestral guides?
Just one of the things when I'm journaling to say thank you, I will always say, thank you for conspiring in my favor for my highest and greatest good.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So ancestral guides, these are bloodlines or cultural ancestors. They show up whether you invite them or not. These are because genetics apparently comes with a spiritual group chat. They carry collective memories and survival strategies rather than individual personal opinions. So here's one of the ways that you can actually understand who they are. Ancestral guides are connected to your lineage or roots. You usually won't know their names, and that's fine. In fact, oftentimes, I still don't know my guide's name. I just refer to him as my team, and that's okay. So your ancestral guides, they also deal with we've been here before themes like survival, traditions, and healing generational patterns. They communicate through family traits, repeating life lessons and emotional reactions that we don't feel entirely ours. They're engaging in lineage current rather than meeting a specific person. So you're not going to get a cherry-picked only the good ancestors. Healing happens when you recognize that both strengths and harm existed. You can honor their resilience while explicitly releasing their outdated beliefs. And I think that's important. So here's one of the things that you want to do, setting intentions around healing. So they respond strongly to requests for evolution. So ask, help me end this pattern, or show me what was carried forward so I can address it. Another one you can do is support me in choosing differently for the sake of the line.
Because there's a lot of ancestral baggage that comes, especially back in the day. For example, witches who were burned at the stake.
Right. Well, and I mean, think about even just how evolved you and I are, that we're doing a podcast. So 50, 60 years ago, nobody talked about anything. Everything was a secret.
Yes.
We're not like that anymore. So it's continually breaking that family curse, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, well, like if you look at psychics and mediums, it was taboo. You don't do that. You don't talk about it.
Exactly. I don't know if you and I would be doing what we're doing had we not had role models or people that before us chose to be in the limelight. You know what I mean? Like I'm like Sylvia Brown, even Echo.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know, like they chose to take some of that heat, if you will. They chose to turn the page of their generation, which opened the door for our generation. And very much like we're opening a door for another generation. So it's that constant buildup. So I love that. So, so pay attention to how your body responds. Ancestral guidance is often somatic The body holds lineage memory more reliably than the brain. So look for warmth, a sense of grounding in your feet, or a sudden emotional release that has no clear source in your current day, which I think is fun. So some daily rituals that you can make a habit of is you don't need elaborate altars, just like Ro was just talking about. If you're trying to break a long-standing family habit, like a specific way of handling money or anger, you might cook a traditional family meal or light a single candle. And as you do, you mentally state, I am keeping the strength of our family. I am leaving this specific habit behind. If you suddenly feel a steadiness in your spine or a sense of backing as you make that hard choice later that day, that is your ancestral line supporting the course of correction. Notice when something is ending with you. So when you make that choice that breaks a generational cycle and it feels oddly supported or heavy in a good way, it's often ancestral guidance backing you up. But you want to make sure that you're open to their wisdom and healing, not a replay of their trauma. So be specific. I am open to your strength, but I do not want to carry your suffering. So they don't need you to be stuck reminiscing or living in their past. They need you functional and evolving. So ancestral guidance aren't sentimental, they're practical. Just remember that they're the ones that helped you exist at all. Working with them is less about reverence and more about responsibility. Ro, can you tell us how you can tell the difference between a human or an ancestral guide?
Yes, I'd love to.
Wonderful.
Well, both have human origins. The frequency of their presence is distinct. Here's how to tell who is in the room. So, for human guides, they feel individual. One perspective, one tone, one way of responding. It's like talking to a specific person who has opinions. Ancestral guides feel collective. The message comes from a we, even if no words are used. It feels broader, older, and less personal. Human spirit guides often bring comfort, reassurance, or familiar emotional warmth. The feeling is relational, like a friend walking beside you. Ancestral guides are steadier, heavier, and more neutral. They are less about soothing and more about stability or correction. They stand behind you. Human guides may feel conversational. You might hear advice or an inner voice that has a distinct personality. Ancestral guides communicate through patterns, body sensations, a strong sense of inevitability, fewer words, more weight. Human spirit guides show up situational during grief, transitions, or when you're facing something they specifically lived through. Ancestral guides appear when long-standing patterns are activated, family themes repeated, or healing work that affects the whole line. Human spirit guides often bring a softening, a relaxation, or a sense of being accompanied. Ancestral guides bring grounding. You might feel a heaviness in your feet or spine, or a solemn emotional release. So, if you're wondering, am I imagining this person? It's usually a human spirit guide. If you're thinking, why does this feel bigger than me? It's usually an ancestral guide. Human guides walk beside you. If you feel supported personally, think human. Ancestral guides stand behind you. If you feel supported structurally, think ancestral. It's helpful to remember that you don't need to have a label for everything right away. Sometimes trying to figure out exactly who is who can pull you out of the moment and back into your head. Think of it as a relationship that unfolds naturally. The difference between a personal guide and an ancestral one, usually becomes clearer over time as you get used to their signature. For now, simply noticing whether the support feels like someone walking beside you or strength standing behind you is enough. If the guidance helps you feel more grounded and move forward, that's what really matters. The label can come later.
That's
So,
really cool. Yeah.
yeah.
I sometimes feel like there's almost like hands on my shoulders.
Oh,
It certainly feels like that support system. So, yeah, pretty cool.
both hands on both shoulders, or?
Yeah. Next, we have the elemental and nature guides. So, these are the least interested in your feelings, the most consistent you'll ever work with. So, I thought that was kind of cool. They were here before your personality and will be here long after. They are comforting in a blunt and steady way. So, some of the ways that you can understand what they are or how they are, these energies are tied to earth, water, fire, and air, and the land itself. They're not individual personalities, they're forces or presence rather than characters. So you don't summon these guides indoors with intentions alone. You go outside, you engage with the weather or land directly. Presence matters more than imagination here. So your natural guidance doesn't shout, it registers once you've stopped rushing. Walking slowly or sitting still until your body settles is how you learn the language. They work with intentions differently. So, earth, you're going to touch the stone or the soil and ask for grounding or endurance. Water is rain, rivers, even a bath, and you're going to ask for flow and release. Air is the open spaces and the wind. Ask for clarity and perspective. And then fire, this is the sun or a hearth. You're going to ask for transformation and motivation. If you're feeling scattered or mentally loud, you might go sit by the base of a large tree. I'll talk to Teddy sometimes like that. And you aren't asking the tree for a conversation. What you are is you're aligning with its stillness. As your breathing slows down to match the environment, you might suddenly realize that the solution to a problem you've been overthinking. That delayed release of insight is the guidance. So elemental communication is
somatic.
Look for temperature shifts, relaxations, alertness. If you're waiting for sentences, you're using the wrong channel. Many times, offering a reciprocity, so caring for the land, pick up the trash, water the plant, it isn't payment, it's alignment. And I think even just deadheading flowers, what you're doing is you're taking care of that plant. You're taking care of the land. It's simple.
Yeah.
So if it feels like grounding or regulating, then you're working with nature. If it feels chatty or story driven, you're likely imagination mode. So I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, very interesting. So I guess the elementals aren't chatty.
They aren't chatty, which sometimes is a good thing because I don't know about you, but I get a little, I'm talking all the time at work. And that's why everybody is like, I come to the lake house and I'll not talk to anybody but you for a couple days. And everybody's like, aren't you lonely out there? No, I'm perfectly fine out here because I love just sitting in the stillness, walking outside barefoot.
I am going to do Ascended Masters and Teachers.
Perfect.
So these guides are often the ones that need the most guardrails. They are not better than other guides. They are specialized. They show up when someone is studying, teaching, or integrating a philosophy of spiritual framework. So you can think of these guides as being connected to a specific wisdom, traditions, or paths of study rather than personal history. Instead of a personal companion, they act more like the embodiment of the path itself. They tend to appear when you are ready to expand your perspective or restructure how you see the world, helping you find deep clarity rather than just looking for a quick yes or no. So curiosity works much better than reverence here. Ask for understanding rather than rescue. Like you had mentioned this earlier, you approach as a student, not as a devotee. Focus on principles, not personalities. These guides communicate through ideas, realizations, and corrections. If you're getting traumatic appearances or quotes, slow down and ground. Use study as the doorway. Reading, contemplation, and journaling are your access points. Insight comes through integration, not invocation. And ask clear questions. What am I missing in this teaching? Where am I attached to certainty? And how does this apply practically to my life? The example would be, imagine you're struggling to understand a complex concept like non-attachment while reading a philosophy book. So mentally open the door to a teacher energy. Later, while you're doing something mundane like washing the dishes, a sudden precise realization hits you. It's not a voice, but a click of understanding that changes how you view your possessions or relationships. That quiet, inconvenient insight is the teacher. And watch how guidance lands. Healthy guidance feels clarifying, steady, but it also can be challenging. It may dismantle beliefs you actually liked. Teachers aren't here to coddle. However, if the guidance tells you that you are chosen, special, or above others, disengage. True teacher energy decentralizes authority and sends you back to your own discernment. I like that piece because
I do too.
I often think of cult leaders being that way.
Oh, yeah. I never thought of it that way.
So remember, wisdom doesn't announce itself loudly. It tends to feel quiet, precise, and often inconvenient. Ascended masters and teacher guides don't come to be followed. They come to help you see more clearly, then step out of the way. So, Becky, who would you say is an ascended master?
You know, I actually call on, and I don't actually know their name or anything, but I will, when I'm doing cards, like tarot cards and stuff like that, I will actually call an ascended master to help guide me. An ascended tarot master, you know, that type of thing. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do that. So higher self as a guide. So we talk about it all the time. The higher self is the least mystical option, yet it's often the one people resist the most because it reframes guidance as self-trust rather than dependency. So I think you and I fall into this category that it's trusting yourself. It's part of your consciousness that is reactive, wounded, or time bound. It isn't better than you, it's just wider. It sees the patterns across your experiences instead of being stuck inside the single moment. And I think that's very important. Other guides can feel external. Your higher self feels internal, but unfamiliar, like recognizing your own handwriting from years ago. It is neutral, grounded, and unsensational. It's going to communicate through sudden clarity rather than back and forth dialogue. It's going to be through calm, is this the right move feeling, without the heavy emotional charge. Through restraint, the higher self often tells you what not to do. So if you've ever asked yourself, should I go to the store right now? And you're like, no. You get a no. or feeling that you shouldn't. One of the ways that you can work with it is just silence. Primary access point, not effort. So ask for perspective rather than instructions. So something that you can do is while you're facing a decision that makes you anxious, instead of asking, what should I do, to the voice in the sky, you sit quietly and ask your higher self for clarity. The answer doesn't come as a booming command. It comes as a sudden, boringly simple realization, like, I'm only saying yes because I'm afraid of being disliked. That simple. Non-dramatic truth is your higher self.
And our soul garden meditations,
yes,
are really you talking to your higher self. So they're really good examples of if you want to sit and quiet and ask certain questions. We have the soul garden meditations that you could find on Woo Woo Seekers on YouTube.
Yes, very good point. Very good point. Even one of the first ones I did was, what is my purpose? I think we all want to know that. So what better place to ask than yourself?
Yeah.
One of the ways it differs from imagination is usually noisy, emotional, and wants to tell a story. Higher self guidance feels simple, even boring at times. You often don't like the answer at first because it contradicts the desire or the ego-driven fear. I think that's very interesting. I'm thinking back to moments that I have actually had that, where you're like, somebody asks you to go out or do something and you're like, I don't really want to go. I want to go home. I just want to stay, but I feel obligated to do it. I do that with clients all the time. One of my coworkers and I talk about it all the time. No is a full sentence. Sometimes you just got to use that sentence. So the other reality check, if the guidance makes you feel superior, separate, or destined, it's likely your ego wearing a spiritual makeup. The higher self doesn't crown the ego, it dissolves it. The higher self isn't the voice telling you what to do. It's the part of you that already knows what aligns and what doesn't before fear gets involved.
Yeah, I really like that we added the reality check, because often you're really not sure.
Right. And well, and especially with this, with the higher self, because I have trouble trusting my own self. And that is where ego, intuition fight back and forth. I thought it was pretty cool. You kind of get a clearer picture of what it is and what it isn't.
Yeah. And when we say ego, we're not talking in that you have this ego about you. It's more like your self gets in the way.
Correct. Ego to me is a lot of times life experiences, but ego tends to have a negative turn, I think, sometimes for me anyway. But yet at the same time, it can be, I'm bigger than life and I need to be the center of attention too. So
that's what I usually think of as ego. Like, oh, he has a big ego.
Right.
You know, that's what I usually think of. But this ego that we're talking about is more of you getting in the way.
Yeah. Yep. And that happens a lot. So I'm going to add a little something to the higher self, and it's actually higher self expression through past lives. So this is basically, we've done past life regression and we've done Akashic records and stuff like that, which we'll have an episode later on more about the Akashic records. So this is basically you with the distance. It's the higher self communicating through a recognized channel or character to help you understand a lesson. It feels personal and precise because you're accessing your own continuity. It's not a separate ghost roommate. It's your own consciousness using previous roles you played to give you advice. And it
No.
feels like, yeah, I know, it's kind of cool. And it feels like an experienced consultant, if you will. It's you remembering a perspective you've once had that fits the current situation. So sometimes you feel like a past life guide is actually the higher self communicating through a lifetime that already understands the lesson. It's not someone guiding you, it's you remembering. So I just thought that was really kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Do you want to go over our next one?
Yes. This is one of the soul memory guide. So this is one of the most practical and least spooky forms of guidance. It is access through lived knowledge and wisdom that already exists within your soul's history. So your soul memory guide is competence without a backstory. It is the part of you that already knows how to navigate a situation, even if your current life hasn't learned the skill yet. It feels like recognition. It's the moment where you find yourself in a brand new situation, but your body and intuition say, "Oh, I know how to do this." It feels less like learning and more like remembering. So, how it differs from your highest self? Your highest self is about your current alignment and the big picture of your life now. The soul memory is about the archive of skills, wisdom, and soul level habits you've built over lifetimes. So it shows up as a sudden ease with a complex task. It manifests as a deep, unshakable knowing about a person, place, or philosophy that you've technically never encountered before. So the example would be, imagine you're in a high stress emergency where everyone is panicking, but you suddenly feel an icy calm precision. You aren't trying to be brave. You just instinctively know how to lead and organize. You might have no training in this life for it, but you're tapping into a soul memory of a previous role where you were a leader or a healer. How to work with it. Trust the instinct. Don't stop to analyze why you know something. If the skill is there and it's for the highest good, use it. Ask for the archive. If you're stuck, instead of asking for help from the outside, ask, is there a part of me that already knows how to handle this? So it doesn't need a name, a costume, or a vision. Your soul memory is about utility. It shows up to help you do the work, not to tell you stories about who you used to be. Some connections go beyond memory and skill. I also have a podcast companion meditation for the soul guide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So some connections go beyond memory and skill. Becky, do you want to go through soul line guides?
Yeah. And I was actually finding this very interesting. So, soul line guides or legacy guides, these are human spirit guides you share a history with that predates your current life. They aren't part of your bloodline, or your ancestors, but part of your soul line, a community of spirits you've worked with across time. So, this is a partnership based on history. It is a separate being who knows your soul's long game. They show up because you have a soul contract or a shared mission that didn't end just because of the previous lifetime did. It feels like an unearned trust. It is that I know you feeling that doesn't make sense logically. Unlike a neutral force of the elemental or the we of ancestor, this feels a specific, familiar presence, like a friend who knows exactly how you think. The difference between the soul memory and the soul line guide, the soul memory is an internal hard drive, the skills and the knowing you've earned yourself. Now, a soul line guide is the external partner, the person who stood next to you while you were earning those skills. Interesting. Through the feeling of connection, you align with the frequency of their presence rather than the memory of their face. It's manifest as a reminder of the strength that you've forgotten you possessed. They point you toward your own power. Just an example, you might be starting a new project or entering a relationship that feels incredibly intimidating. Suddenly, you feel a presence that brings a sense of familiar courage, and you can't name the person, but you feel like you've been in battle or business with a specific energy before. You might have a thought like, we've done harder things than this. That shifts from I am alone to we are back at it. And this is the soul line guide.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the ways that you can work with it is use the connection as a tuning fork. Instead of trying to remember a name, focus on the feeling of being known, supported by them. Or you can actually invite it to share its strength. So when you're feeling small, ask, remind me of the strength we've used before. One of the reality checks with it, it's about work, not about drama. You don't need to do a past life regression to work with them. If the connection helps you show up better now, it's working. Like soul memory, they are focused on utility. They show up to help you finish what you've started and to ensure you don't drop the ball on a lesson you've already partially learned. So now we have one left. Do you want to go over that one for us?
Oh, yes. I'm excited to go over this one.
Perfect.
So for the moments when your growth demands correction, you have your karmic guides. So karmic guides are the guides responsible for your soul's course correction. They aren't here to soothe you. They're here to ensure you don't leave this life with the same unfinished business you brought into it. They are the guardians of your growth. Their job is to push unresolved lessons or reoccurring patterns to the surface so you can finally address them. Think of them as the pattern breakers who make sure you stop walking in circles. The energy that you might feel is corrective and heavy. This isn't the warm hug of a human guide. It feels like a persistent nudge or a spotlight being shined on the one thing you've been trying to ignore. It is the feeling of, we're doing this again until you choose differently.
I think I've had a few of those.
Yeah. So how this differs from ancestral guides. Ancestral guides deal with the family line and what you inherited from your bloodline. Karmic guides deal with your soul's specific trajectory and the individual loops you personally tend to get stuck in. It communicates through synchronicity and repetition. You see the same red flags, you hear the same advice from 3 different people, or you find yourself in the exact same conflict with different characters. I've been there.
I know. Me too.
Through a hard stop. Sometimes they communicate by simply closing the door that you weren't supposed to go through, forcing you to look at a new direction. So, for example, you've had 3 jobs in a row where you felt undervalued and eventually quit in anger. You're about to start a 4th and you feel that familiar victim narrative starting to build. A karmic guide is the energy that makes you pause and realize the common denominator here is my inability to set boundaries early. That uncomfortable aha moment that forces you to take responsibility is the work of a karmic guide. So how to work with it? Look for the loop. Ask, what is the lesson that keeps showing up in my life right now? Ask, what is the situation trying to show me about myself. The best way to thank a karmic guide is to make a new choice. Once you break the pattern, their work is done. The reality check. It's not a punishment. Karma isn't about debt you're paying. It's a lesson you're learning. These guides aren't judging you. They are simply holding the mirror up. They don't go away until you move. You can't meditate away a karmic guide. They stay active until the behavior or the perspective actually shifts in the real world.
So now that we've met the full team, let's pause to talk about how to actually work with them, because knowing who they are only half the journey. So here's something that you must take into consideration. If it tells you that you're superior, chosen, or special above all others, that's your ego, not a soul memory. Real past life guidance is quiet, corrective, and occasionally inconvenient. A past life guide is not somebody guiding you. It's you with experience. This is something that guides are not or don't do. So they're not constant chatterers. They're not going to make decisions for you. They're not going to guarantee it to show up visually. They're not impressed with worship. They're not offended by skepticism. In fact, I think a lot of people would agree with the whole, it's healthy to have skepticism.
Yes. And, you could always test them as well.
Yes. We started working with the dowsing rods. I'm holding my dowsing rods, show me where my water bottle is, and it points right to my water bottle. So that was me testing it, but yet at the same time being functional.
Yeah, because now you kind of feel better about it, right?
Right.
Because it did that.
Yeah, it built that confidence that that I need, because again, we're our biggest critics. So yeah, it was really, and it was fun. I don't know if you had fun. I had fun. It was a lot of fun.
And you built trust.
Correct. So any time that I use them again, I'll feel that confidence come back.
It's fun. So you had brought this up before. And one question that constantly comes up is whether spirit guides have names, faces, or genders. The truth is, while some reveal a name or a specific form, many never do. And both are perfectly okay. Like you were saying, you didn't know the name and it's okay.
Yeah, well, it was something I obsessed about when I first got in and started doing this. And that's all I wanted. I wanted to know their names, and now I get every time if I ask a name, and I don't even ask anymore, but anytime that I did ask, it's not important. Not important.
I'm very bad with names.
So you wouldn't remember if you like
yes. And I've been told a name, but yeah, I don't remember it. I couldn't tell you the name I've got. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you remember my name.
It took some time.
Well, we've known each other for 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
Gosh, hard to believe that.
Sometimes a name is just symbolic, a frequency translated into a word your brain can understand. And their form may shift or remain totally undefined because for them, gender is often irrelevant or purely energetic. If you're getting hung up on labels, remember that the relationship and the quality of the guidance matter far more than the name on the business card. Focus on the connection, not the identification. And the biggest hurdle for most seekers is figuring out the difference between guidance and their own imagination. The key lies in the quality of the energy. True guidance feels calm, neutral, and loving. It's that quiet voice that lands with a sense of peace. Your ego, on the other hand, usually feels urgent, loud, or fear-based. Real guides will never shame, pressure, or demand. They offer insights gently and repeatedly, rather than forcing them on you. Think of it this way. Imagination opens the door to the connection, but discernment is what helps you walk through it. If the message feels like a supportive, steady anchor rather than a frantic must do, you can trust that it's coming from your team.
So I think there's something important that we need to talk about before we go much further, and that is your boundaries and free will. You are the CEO of your own energetic space, which means you choose who you invite in and how you interact. You always have the right to say no and set specific office hours or pause communication entirely if it feels like it's too much. Grounding yourself in your physical body is your anchor here. Remember, spiritual protection isn't about being afraid of the dark. It's about having the clarity to only welcome energy that is aligned with your highest and greatest good. True guides respect your boundaries always. If you have a presence that doesn't respect your limits, it isn't a guide. Your free will is the strongest tool in your toolkit, and it's what keeps the practice safe and empowering. It's also important to set realistic expectations, how the guides actually support us and how they don't. They are here to offer insight, comfort, and gentle nudges towards growth to help you notice patterns you might have missed. However, they aren't magical fixers. They won't predict lottery numbers. They can't control other people's behaviors, and they won't make decisions for you. Most importantly, they aren't here to remove all the hardships in your life. A big theme in this work is growth over comfort. They are here to help navigate the storm with wisdom, not stop the rain. They are mentors for your soul, not assistants for your ego. I love that, by the way.
I was about to say that. You stole my thunder once again.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and say it.
I love that line.
So, yeah, very, very interesting. And I think, well, just like every episode that we do, I learn something more every single time. It's like you think that you know something and then it goes a little bit deeper. I love deep dives.
Yeah, and it's funny, we write this, but as we go over it, it's like you're remembering all over again.
And that's why it was something that we found that we wanted to share.
Very cool. So as we wrap up today's episode, remember that guidance is usually subtle and consistent, not a Hollywood production. It speaks through the clairs, those flashes of inner knowing, the gut feeling, or sudden downloads of clarity that hit you during mundane moments like driving or showering. Instead of waiting for a booming voice, look for the synchronicities, the repeating symbols, or the quiet nudges that feel like a wink from the universe. If it's helpful, calming, and persistent, it's likely a conversation, not a coincidence. Most importantly, everyone has a team. Yes, everyone. You don't need to be a psychic or see spirits in the room to be supported. Being human is the only prerequisite. While doubt is a natural part of the process, it doesn't block your guides. Only fear and total dismissal closes the door. Your intuition is the doorway. As you start to trust those small hunches, you'll realize you've never actually been navigating this life alone. My advice for you this week is to simply begin a conversation. Don't wait for a crisis or a huge life decision to talk to your team. Start with the small stuff. Ask for a parking spot. Ask for a bit of patience before a stressful meeting. or ask for a sign of their presence while you're making coffee. When you build a relationship in the quiet moments, you'll know exactly how to listen when the big moments arrive. You don't need a ritual. You just need a moment to focus. I love doing this episode. So, Becky, what do we have for next week?
Next week, we're moving from these foundational guides into the celestial realm. We're stepping into the world of angels and guardian angels, what they are, how they differ, how they show up in very real, practical ways. We'll explore the specialist angels, those celestial independent contractors, and your guardian angels, the lifelong partners dedicated to your soul's blueprint. We'll even talk about how to identify your personal angelic signature and my favorite tool, the angelic want ads. Here are the words for this week from the Woo Woo Seeker's Journal, A Journey for Your Signs and Symbols, Book 1. Harbor and healer. See what rises and see what resonates. And go to @WooWooSeekers on YouTube to listen to our meditation for those words. You can find all of the words and the link in our newsletter at comegetwoowoo.com. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for getting woo-woo with us today. If something sparked a memory, a message, or just made you smile, share it with a fellow seeker, because the journey is always better when you can grow together. Be sure to find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Woo Woo Seekers, so you can like, follow, and subscribe.
You can also follow us by visiting our website, comegetwoowoo.com. We are so much more than just another podcast. We're building a community of seekers just like us. We love hearing from you. If you've got signs, symbols, or stories that you want to share, email us at woowooseekers@gmail.com. Or any questions about today's episode, you can email us at comegetwoowoo@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and as always, come get woo-woo with us.